Vasishta continued, I have narrated the story of the rock, which enables you to realize the truth quite clearly. The story of the rock, which we just heard, was a story about the dissolution of a universe and its hierarchy of beings, which existed inside a rock. It was really the story of Vasishta's own spiritual practice, and the truth which you can realize quite clearly from it is that nothing exists anywhere at any time. Brahman alone exists as a mass of Brahman without any division whatsoever. And Brahman is not a thing, it's not a concept, it's not even a non-concept. And this was Vasishta's realization. It wasn't the realization of something new, it's a consolidation. Brahman is awareness, is consciousness. It's something that has most people scratching their heads, and if they're not so polite, might be thinking there's something a little bit odd or not quite right about the person who's saying this. In this case, me. So at first this talk of this awareness is incomprehensible. Well, it is incomprehensible. It has to be realized. And then when it's realized, you realize how subtle it is. And you move backwards and forwards between this realization. The attention moves from this realization, and then it gets distracted according to your natural underlying tendencies. But then it becomes not so subtle. Then it becomes what is real. And what people take as reality is of a dreamlike, unreal nature. But as the reality of Brahman is realized, then it's realized is no different from anything else, including what people regard as physical reality, which is of a dreamlike nature. The dream is just as real as anything else. Some people seem to slip into this realization quite spontaneously, the realization of Brahman, of pure consciousness. And unfortunately, if the mind is not ready for it, if you've not got any exposure to this kind of teaching, it can be very disturbing. And that disturbance can cause a lot of conflict and a lot of pain. So if you are somebody in this position, then it's a good idea to immerse yourself in these teachings and in the practice of self-inquiry. Particularly look at the nature of your anxieties about what you're experiencing. And of course, if it is too much, then you have to resort to whatever options you've got. It does not undergo any change. The cosmic being is but a dream object in that consciousness, whether that being is subtle or gross. The cosmic being is simply any notion of an individual, whether it's yourself, somebody else, or some divine personage, or simply the universe. So you can think of it in subtle terms as your spirit, or in gross terms as your body. But we've gone beyond that particular discrimination. We could say it's all but a dream object. Hence there is neither a Brahma, the creator, nor the creation, nothing but the indivisible consciousness. The diversity perceived in a dream does not create a diversity in the dreamer. Even so, the notion of a creation does not create a division in consciousness. It's not your consciousness and my consciousness and somebody else's consciousness. It's simply consciousness. This is what we're exploring in this chapter. Consciousness alone is no creation. The dream mountain is the dreamer, not a mountain. This is an important point, the relationship between the dreamer and the dream. We can say that everything in the dream is the consciousness of the dreamer. It doesn't matter how diverse the contents of the dream are. Everything is the consciousness of the dreamer. We don't have a problem with that, do we? We don't have a problem with that. If I say a cat and a skyscraper in a dream are the consciousness of the dreamer, you don't have a problem with that. If I say the space in the dream is also of the same nature as the cat and the skyscraper, again, no problem. Everything in the dream is the consciousness of the dreamer. We've no problem with that. But when we try and relate this analogy to our waking state, we dig our heels in, don't we? But we shouldn't, because the analogy is clear. Both dreams and this reality are constructed by our mind. And you say, yes, but our mind bases its information on signals from a different source, from something out there. Well, how can we say that? How can we say that? We could say exactly the same thing if we were dreaming, couldn't we? I could be a scientist. I could dream that I'm a scientist studying perception. We wouldn't give it any credence, because we wouldn't say that in the dream we perceive things in accordance with the same story that we say that we perceive things when we're awake. Because we've got this inbuilt idea, or this notion that we adhere to, that there's something out there sending us signals. We cannot know that. All we can say is that we've got that notion, and that is our reality, but it's nothing more than a notion. The infinite consciousness, the Chitakasha, is I. It is the three worlds. It is the Purusha, the cosmic being, and it is you. The Chitakasha, the infinite consciousness, is the space of consciousness. It's what allows everything, it's what allows all notions to arise in, and it is also these notions. This is our reality. This is Brahman.